출석부들도. So I need to hold on a sec. Maybe how many? 5, 10. I think I need to have one more person. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Birth of Bitcoin. Is it okay? Trust enabled by peers. Used to be trust enabled by state, banks, big banks, right? But after with the birth of Bitcoin, we can trust our peers. That's what it is. So here, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer. So this is the language, okay? Not central authority, but peer-to-peer. Electronic cash system. And the name of the person who wrote this paper is Satoshi Nakamoto. This is a pseudonym, and there is a bitcoin.org webpage, okay, website. And the abstract here says really interesting story. So let's read it together. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Digital signatures provide part of the solution, but the main benefits are lost if a trusted third party is still required to prevent double spending. So here is a important word starting to appear, double spending. Okay, so what is double spending? Anyone can tell me? Is there?
Yeah. Double spending means at the same time you are trying to spend your money to different parties.
So, Alice?
Well, I'm not sure, but I wanted to guess. I wanted to take a guess, like it's sending the cash to the bank, and then the bank will send the cash to the other person.
But there is no bank here, right?
Oh,
okay. So, any other person? Try to. Heung-No?
I can send same amount of money to him and to me, and two of one is fake.
All right. So, any other one? Try. Who wants to try? Double spending. I spend, twice or third times or fourth time because this is a digital one, right? So I can make a copy of it, right? So, can you try double spending?
I think I make the same payment amount two times. For example, I pay 500, then I pay 500 again. So there's a duplication. And there's a duplication.
So let's suppose that I have $100, right? I send this $100 to Alice, and then also to Elvis. Huh? Then how much I spent? 200. That's a double spending. Very simple, right? Huh? But if this is a digital e-cash, you can make a copy of $100 and then send it to 2 different persons or 3 different persons, right? 100 different persons, right? If that is allowed, or if that is possible, then there will be a problem, right? With the e-cash. So double spending problem has to be prevented, right? Otherwise, e-cash system will not going to work, right? So how double spending is prevented in centralized system. Can you make a guess? So today we don't have to worry about double spending problem, right? If we have if we use banks, right? So how does bank prevent double spending?
There are audits and checks. The bank is auditing all the payments and checking all the payments.
Who's the checking? Who's doing the checking things?
The bank.
Bank is always, if you at least, I'm sorry, you two are the only two guys that I remember the names. So if Elvis wants to send $100 to Alice, right? You probably, what is the first thing that you have to do? You have to?
I have to basically have money in the bank.
Yeah, you have to, that's a good idea. That's a good item. So first, in order to have double spending problem prevented,
Have money.
Elvis says, I need to have money, right? Do I have money, right? If I have only $100 in the bank, $100 in the bank, I can only spend how much? Only up to 100, right? If I spend more than 100, that will be a problem, okay? And then second one, right? If I make a transaction simultaneously to two different people simultaneously, so I spend the $200. That will be a problem, right? So it has to be prevented. So how this is prevented in the banking system? So A is Elvis, B is Alice, right? So try to send $100, right? But are you directly sending money to her? No, right? You have to go through what? So you have to go to the bank. Bank will rebalance the account balance, right? And then send to Alice. So this has to be trusted bank, right? Central authority. So this is the guy who makes sure that this person A has $100, right, in the bank, and then this is the guy who makes sure that double spending is not happening, right? So if we have a central authority, trusted one, then problem solved, right? All right. So now, if the Bitcoin wants to do this without the involvement of bank, how can they do it? How can Bitcoin allow such a system? It's a blockchain. Okay. Yeah. So instead of having the bank involved, that paper says, let's do this by P2P, peer-to-peer, right? Or if we all of us watch the transactions and then allow the transactions to go through, all of us together, then we might be able to replace bank. So that is the case. So here, a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly, right? Not through the trusted organization, from one party to the other, right? So that's what this one is saying. And there is a digital signatures provide part of the solution, but the main benefits are lost if trusted third party is still needed. Okay, so that's the So we have to study how Bitcoin prevent double spending, okay, peer-to-peer. So, and we propose a solution to the double spending problem using a peer-to-peer network, which is a blockchain network, okay. And the network timestamps transactions by hashing them into an ongoing chain of hash-based proof of work. So now it starts to talk about the technology, right? So right now you might not be able to understand what this sentence means, but we will get to know it in this class. All right, forming a record that cannot be changed without redoing the proof of work. Okay, so can anybody tell me what this sentence is saying? No, right? It's obvious, right? We'll get to know. And then the longest chain not only serves as proof of the sequence of events witnessed. So there is something Satoshi Nakamoto says as proof, right? Proof of what? Proof of a ripple transaction, right? And but proof that it came from the largest pool of CPU power. Now it talks about CPU power, right? So in order to be able to protect the blockchain ledger, oh, someone is playing with it. This? Maybe Heung-No. That's what. This is your work. I see. As long as a majority of CPU power is controlled by nodes that are not cooperating to attack the network. Since we are doing this peer-to-peer, right? Let's say half of the peer is acting badly, right? And the half of the peer are acting good way, like protecting these transactions in a ripple manner. And then rest of the half acting badly. So this is good versus attackers. Good keepers of the network and the attackers of this network. So if the attackers' CPU power overwhelms the good people's keepers' hash power or the CPU power, then there might be a problem. Okay, but so this has to be addressed. How to keep the security and the integrity of the blockchain. And so there are issues with who controls the network, and then in order to control the network, basically you need to have a larger hash power or the CPU power compared to the attacker's CPU power. But what do you think Bitcoin protects this integrity? Do you think there are more bad people trying to attack the network all the time? Or do you think there are more people with good intention? Why?
I think there are more bad people.
What did you say? Among bad
people.
There are some bad people. Do you think there are more bad people than good people? You cannot assume that, right? But if we assume that there are some people with a bad intention, right? And then there are some people with good intentions. But what happens if this network is broken by attacking it? Would there be any economic benefits for the whole? No, right? So basically, if someone wants to attack it and then break it, then the trust enabled by Bitcoin network will be gone, right? Then are there going to be any economic benefit for the attackers as well in the long run? So that is the mechanism that Bitcoin is relying on. So people who thought about Bitcoin initially, the people are sometimes acting badly for their own benefit. So how can this network be maintained, right? But because of this is very interesting subject. How can Bitcoin network stay alive, right? Using peer-to-peer system. What is the mechanism that this can be, stay alive? So we'll talk about that. And as long as majority of CPU power, so as long as majority of people who has good intention is more than the number of people who have bad intention, the network will be safe. And the messages are broadcast on a best effort basis. So this is the characteristic of internet. Internet is best effort service, right? So if you want to send a message to someone, right, you use a protocol, TCP/IP, or some UDP algorithm, right? So that's the best effort support. So basically, if you want to send it, it might go through, to the destination, but sometimes it is dropped because network is very busy. Then the routers will drop your packets, right? So that's the best effort service, and the node can leave and join the network at will. This is a peer-to-peer system. Peer-to-peer system means the peers decide if they want to join the network or not. So at any time, if they want to leave, they can leave. So this is very free system, right? So this is amazing, right? But still, making blocks every 10 minutes and so on and so on. So this is amazing if you think about it. So accepting the longest proof of chain as proof of what happened while they were gone. So if this node is just left network, and then if this node comes back, then it is renewed. Anytime it can leave, anytime it can join. So open network. Okay. All right. So what would be the most fundamental mechanism? Why would a node want to join? Would any node wants to join? So there must be some benefits. That's why they want to join, right? In the first place, or after they left the network and then wants to come back, right? What would be the mechanism?
I think when they perform mining, they are awarded Bitcoin.
Yeah, good. They get something, which is Bitcoin. And then in order to make the Bitcoin work, right, to spend some CPU power, they what do you think the designer of Satoshi Nakamoto have done? Just throw. This is no right or wrong, right? Just
It uses the CPU power of the nodes itself.
yeah. So if someone wants to join as a peer of this network, the person has to pay for the electrical bill, right? So the person has to spend money to be able to provide the CPU power to the network. So he has to spend, right? So the person needs to have some type of compensation from the network, right? So that compensation mechanism is Bitcoin. But is Bitcoin worldwide?
Yes.
Why?
The internet is worldwide.
can you just speak louder?
Bitcoin is worldwide because the internet is worldwide.
Worldwide. Bitcoin is worldwide. So it is. It does have some value. Worldwide because it is worldwide. Is there any other reason? Just give me some random thoughts.
Limit number.
Yeah, it has a limited number of issuance, right? Another thing, okay. Any other thing? Why Bitcoin is worth any value?
There is no organization to control.
There is no organization to control Bitcoin, so that's a decentralization issue, right? That's also good, right? But can you think of some something in terms of economic situation? What is the economy in this case? Anyone else? Seungmin?
Maybe a lot of people trust Bitcoin, so they invest.
So people trust the technology behind the Bitcoin, like cryptography and networking, and then hash algorithms and so on. So people trust Bitcoin network. This is going to be secure. No one will be able to double spend. So this is a good one, so that I can trust. So because of trust, they assign some value to this, right? So there is an intrinsic value because of the technology provided. Okay, so that might be. But I think I should. I want to have one more answer from you. Right? What else?
Another thing is that people don't want to depend on certain currency like dollar things.
Yeah. So this is a new global type of money, but let's go back to the birth time of Bitcoin, which is in 2009. Back then, no one have thought that this will be a global, money like today, right? So if we go back to the early days of Bitcoin, right? We don't have such trust. We don't have nothing, right? So let's go back to let's say 2010, for example. Can you make a guess now? Some economic reason. Investment type, yeah. Both of you. I'll give you.
People don't trust the fiat currencies, and Bitcoin is starting to become the new gold standard of.
Yeah. But in 2010, people didn't believe such a narrative because it's too early. It was too early, right?
It was just after financial economic crisis. 2010, it was after the economic crisis.
Economic crisis.
So people didn't have any trust in Wall Street and global banks.
I see. But that type of narrative also was created by the news media. But back in 2010, there was no such stories.
And 2010, maybe Bitcoin wasn't worth anything to begin with. So people could invest like $1 and just $1 by $1.
Yeah. So who investment? So who are the first investors to the network?
The creator.
The what?
The one who created Bitcoin.
The creator?
Yes.
Anyone else in this case? Creator obviously have some investment done because he has spent so much of his own time and made the Bitcoin available to the humanity. That's good, right? So that's good. But what are the other investors? Miners, right? Miners investing what? CPU power and the electricity. They have to pay CPU to purchase CPU and then share this network as a peer in the P2P network. and there is some electric cost that the owner of this P2P server, right, invested. So what happens when someone already invested something, right? What happens to the price? Huh? So there is some investor, and then he spends, let's say, $100 for this, right? Do you think it will go down below $100, or have some resistance that the price of the thing, goes below what someone has already invested? For example, like let's suppose that there is a Gangnam apartment. Okay, someone has paid $1 million already. Do you think the price of the apartment go down below $1 million easily, or have some resistance, go below? Have some resistance because someone already paid, and then by paying it, this thing has some value, right? Because someone is willing to pay some money for this thing, right? So that's the starting point, actually. So initially, the Bitcoin price is formed because of this reason. Someone has already paid the electric bill to create this. So that will be the line. The price will form on this line because someone already have paid. Okay, so that's the issue. And okay, all right. So that's the abstract of a Bitcoin paper. This is only this is a short paper, right? It looks like this person has written this in a single night, right? But has lots of insights. So make this paper, very interesting. Probably, maybe after 10 years later, from now on, maybe this pseudonym person Satoshi would won Nobel Prize in economics and politics as well. This has changed a lot of things today. And then we talked about this bank collapse, right? So you might be able to see this in the news these days. And what do you think will happen if there is a financial crisis like this because of U.S. dollars, making scandals like this? What happens to the price of the Bitcoin? So if this type of incident happens, what the people would choose? Bitcoin, right? The Bitcoin price goes up. These things happen, Bitcoin price goes up. If US dollars are pumped into the society, right? Bitcoin price goes up. Okay? Like that. All right, so birth of Bitcoin trust enabled by peers. So let's get to page by page. Since birth in 2009, January 2009, Bitcoin has never been stopped breathing and still alive. And then it provides a currency system. Never been stopped. Even though no one is controlling it. It is run by P2P with some economic reason. So there is an economic mechanism that's working in this Bitcoin system. So people say that there is a game theory involved in this design. So the person, Satoshi Nakamoto, is expert in game theory design. And it is a global digital currency which works beyond the national boundaries. This is really, really good. Works beyond the national boundaries. Right? So, because it works on the internet layer, so it is another layer on top of internet. It was born when trust on the banks and governments so trust was severely degraded. Trust on central authority was severely degraded. And it means bitcoins every 10 minutes on the average. Okay? So here is the Bitcoin mining schedule. So minting schedule. So minting here means making new Bitcoin. Okay? That's what minting means. And then schedule is obviously the time schedule. Okay? So here is the block number on the x-axis, and the y-axis is the number of coins created by that time. Okay, so here it says it is this. Let's say for year 2018, there were 17 million Bitcoin created, accumulative, right? Starting from the inception point. In the inception point, obviously, there is no Bitcoin. And there, on the y-axis, here it says this thing, 50 Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is created when a block is created. A single block created, initially there were